Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Gauranita Shri Shri Gauranita. Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Astottara Shata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindam Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Samstapakacharya His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindam Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Astottara Shata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की श्री क्षेत्र पुरुषोत्तम धाम की पंढरीपुर धाम की गंगामयी की यमुनामयी की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की गोलोक प्रेमदन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Glories to Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 19, from Canto 5, entitled with the description of the island of Jambudvipa. So total today's verses are 1 to 4, because there is no purport. So we will go for the fourth one, but I will just go through the 1 to 4 slokas translations and sloka, and fourth one we will recite the sloka as it is in the poetry. One to 3, the translation just I will go ahead, and fourth one I will just recite the sloka. Fourth words. Yattadvishuddhanubhavamatramekam Swatejasadvastaguna Pratyak prashantam sudiyopalabharam Hyanam niraham prapadye Yattadvishuddhanubhavamatramekam Swatejasad Satejasadvastaguna Pratyak prashantam sudiyopalabhanam Hyanam niraham prapadye Yattadvishuddhanubhavamatramekam Swatejasadvastaguna Pratyak prashantam sudiyopalambhanam Hyanam niraham prapadye Yanamarupam niraham prapadye. Word to word meaning and translation. Yat, which, tat, to that supreme truth, Vishuddha, transcendentally, pure, without contamination by material nature. Anubhava, experience. Matram, that Satchidananda transcendental body. Ekam, the one. Swatejasa, by his own spiritual potency. Dvastra, vanquished. Gunavyavastam, the influence of the modes of material nature. Pratyak, transcendental, not to be seen with material eyes. Prashantam, undisturbed by material agitation. Sudhiya, by Krishna consciousness or purified consciousness, uncontaminated by material desires, fruitive activities, and speculative philosophy. Upalambhanam, who can be achieved? He, indeed, anamarupam, without a material name and form. Niraham, without a material ego. Prapadye, let me offer my respectable obeisances. I will read from translation 1 to 4 because that number 1, text 1's translation. This particular chapter, the Island of Jambudvipa. Srila Sukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, in Kimpurusha Varsha, the great devotee Hanuman is always engaged with the inhabitants of that land in devotional service to Lord Ramachandra, the elder brother of Lakshmana and the dear husband of Sita Devi. Text number 2. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. That chanting is always extremely auspicious. Hanumanji and Arstisena, the chief person in Kimpurusha Varsha, constantly hear those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following mantras. Text number 3, the translation. Let me please your lordship by chanting the Bija mantra Omkara. I wish to offer my respectable obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, who is the best among the most highly elevated personalities. Your lordship is the reservoir of all good qualities of Aryans, people who are advanced. Your character and behavior are always consistent, and you always control your senses and mind. Acting just like an ordinary human being, you exhibit exemplary character to teach others how to behave. There is a touchstone that can be used to examine the quality of gold, but you are like a touchstone that can be verify all good qualities. You are worshipped by the Brahmanas, who are the foremost of all devotees. You, the Supreme Person, are the King of Kings, and therefore I offer my respectable obeisances unto you. And today's particular text, text number 4, translation. The Lord, whose pure form, Satchidananda Vigraha, is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature, can be perceived by the pure consciousness. In the Vedanta, he is described as a being one without a second. Because of his spiritual potency, he is untouched by the contamination of the material nature, and because he is not subjected to material vision, he is known as the transcendental, and he has no material activities. Nor has he a material form or name. Only in pure consciousness, Krishna consciousness, can one perceive the transcendental form of the Lord. Let us be firmly fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra, and let us offer our respective obeisances unto those transcendental lotus feet. Purport. The Supreme Personality of a Godhead, Krishna, appears in various expansions, as stated in this Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, 39th verse. Rama dimurti shukala niyamena tishtan nana avataram akarod bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna swayam samabhavat paramappumanyo govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, Govinda, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Narasimha, and many sub-incarnations as well. But who is the original personality of a Godhead, known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also? Krishna, who is Vishnu Tattva, has expanded himself in many Vishnu forms, of which Lord Ramachandra is one. We know that the Vishnu Tattva is carried by the transcendental bird Garuda and is equipped with different types of weapons in 4 hands. Therefore, we may doubt whether Lord Ramachandra could be in the same category, since he was carried by Hanuman, not by Garuda, and had neither 4 hands nor the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. Consequently, this verse clarifies that Ramachandra is as good as Krishna, Ramadimurti Shukala. Although Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of a Godhead, Ramachandra is not different from him. Ramachandra is unaffected by the modes of material nature, and therefore he is Prashanta, never disturbed by the modes. Unless one is situated with the love for the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, one cannot appreciate the transcendental values of the Lord Ramachandra. One cannot see him with material eyes. Because demons like Ravana has no spiritual vision, they consider Lord Ramachandra an ordinary Kshatriya king. Ravana therefore attempted to kidnap Ramachandra's eternal consort, Sita Devi. Actually, however, Ravana could not carry off Sita Devi in her original form. As soon as she was touched by the Ravana's hands, she gave him a material form, but she maintained her original form beyond his vision. Therefore, in this verse, the word Pratyak Prashantam indicate that Lord Ramachandra and his potency, the goddess Sita, keep themselves aloof from the influence of this material energy. In the Upanishad, it is said, Yam evaisha vrinute tena labhyaha. The Supreme Lord, Paramatma, the personality of a Godhead, can be seen or perceived by only persons who are saturated with the devotional service, as stated in the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 38. Premanjanacharita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hrudayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundara machinta gunaswarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotees whose eyes are adorned with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shamasundara, situated within the heart of the devotees. Similarly, in the Chandogya Upanishad it is stated, Etas tishro devata anena jivena. In this verse of the Chandogya Upanishad, the word anena is used to distinguish the Atma and Paramatma as two separate identities. The words Tishro Devata indicate that the body of the living entity is made of three material elements, fire, earth, and water. Although the Paramatma enters the heart of the Jivatma, who is influenced and designated by the material body, the Paramatma has nothing to do with the Jivatma's body. Because the Paramatma has no material connections. He is described here as Anama Rupam Niraham. The Paramatma has no material identity, whereas the Jivatma does. The Jivatma may introduce himself as an Indian, American, German, and so on, but the Paramatma has no such material designations, and therefore he has no material name. The Jivatma is different from his name, but the Paramatma is not. His name and himself are one and the same. This is the meaning of Niraham, which means without a material designation. This word cannot possibly be twisted to mean that the Paramatma has no ahankara, no I-ness or identity. He has his transcendental identity as the Supreme. This is the explanation given by Srila Jiva Goswami. According to another interpretation given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Niraham means Nirnischayena Aham. Niraham does not mean the Supreme Lord has no identity. Rather, his stresses given by the word Aham proves strongly that he does have his personal identity, because Nir not only means negative but also means strong ascertainment. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharon Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas to speak on this particular verse. So today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19, the island of Jambudvipa. So we are continuing with the Chapter 18, the prayers which is offered into the different 9 varshas. So we have completed almost all 7 varshas. So now 8th and the 9th varsha, those 2 remaining are the Kimpurusha varsha, as is the 8th prayer, which is Hanuman, who is residing there in the Kimpurusha varsha, is offering prayers to Lord Ramachandra. And at the last but not least, that is Narada is offering prayers to Naranarayana in Bharata varsha. So these are the 2 varshas are remaining. So this particular chapter in the 19th in the Jambudvipa has been described in this particular chapter. And the first 8 verses which describes about how Hanuman is offering prayers to Lord Ramachandra in Kimpurusha Varsha is described about this. And further, most of the things is described about the glories of the Bharata Varsha. The glories of Bharata Varsha is so much so that, and in that again Lord Ramachandra has appeared in this Kimpurusha Varsha. And Narada is glorifying the Bharata Varsha, and the demigods themselves is glorifying what a glory of this Bharata Varsha. Because demigods having the demigod, as we are hearing this Gaur Katha by His Grace Krishna and the Prabhu, even the heavenly damsels in the demigods also wanted to take birth on this earthly planet, because only on the earthly planet can one perform the pure devotional service, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. Because what happened in the demigods, in the heavenly planets, they have the lot of facilities. And after that completed, I think we will never come back to the earthly, the cheap qualities. Rather, we will become so addicted to that. So in that way, the demigods glorifying this Bharata Varsha, what a fortune to get the human form of life in this Bharata Varsha. The description will be there, and later the mountains and the rivers around this Jambudvipa has been disclosed here. So this Bharata Varsha is so important is that, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says that, Bharata Bhumilo hoy manusya janmaja janma sarthaka kari paropakara. So the one who got this human form of life is more fortunate amongst all the 84 lakhs of species. Amongst the human form, the 4 lakh species, the human form in the association of the Vaishnavas in Bharata Varsha is foremost greater aspect. As Srila Prabhupada is describing in this particular purport, the consciousness should be there, Krishna consciousness and the devotional service. So, getting the human form of life in this Bharata Varsha, in this golden era, in this Kali Yuga, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared just recently in the 536 years before that Gaurabdha. And in the association of the Vaishnavas, by divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, who created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is the greatest opportunity to deliver ourselves in this human form of life and go back home, back to Godhead, through practicing pure devotional service. What is that exactly performing pure devotional service? Here in this particular verse, described by Hanuman, how he is performing his own pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, Lord Ramachandra. Prabhupada is writing that Lord Ramachandra, it looks like incarnation of the Lord, but he is not having the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, and he is not carried on the carrier like Garuda. So obviously people will say that he is as an ordinary person. But Prabhupada said that there is no distinction between Lord Rama and Lord Krishna. Rama Dimurtishu Kalani Yamena Tishtan Nanavatara. So there are the different incarnations of the Lord, time, place, and circumstances. 2. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkutam dharma samstapana. It's like wherever there is a declination of the adharma and to re-establish the dharma and to miscreants and to protect the devotees, that is actually the main thing. It's not killing the demons. For that, Lord can use his any weapon or any other personalities, but no need to come directly. But to protect his devotees, to give that abhaya, that I will personally come to protect you. So to give the solace to the devotees, Lord Krishna, and come. So Prabhupada is mentioning there is no distinction between Lord Rama and Krishna. And actually Lord is not so much favorable and so much is attracted by the qualities of this material people who is possessing the so-called qualities like designations, education, Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shri. He is not getting attracted with these all qualities. Lord is not getting attracted to this so-called material happiness and opulences, our education, our poetry, our everything. No, Lord is attracted to only by the process of devotional service. Because through the devotional service, one is surrendered into the Supreme Personality of a Godhead's will and wish. What does it mean? When Lord Ramachandra is going towards his abode and actually has taken even Sugriva and everyone, but he didn't took Hanuman. He said that please be here in this Kimpurusha Varsha. and practice your devotional service unto me. And the same description comes in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Prahlad Maharaj also describes to Narada Muni, what is this? You are coming to me and you are asking, I am such a great devotee. How long I took darshan of the Lord? Very for fraction of second, it's like a nightmare. Hardly. And my father is harassing me, and so Lord is not tolerated, and he had appeared in the form of a half lion and a half man, and just he delivered my father. And how long I could able to see the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how much I can able to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here is Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. Thousands and thousand years of his life, he has dedicated his life to Lord Ramachandra, and personally he served. What a glory if we can able to read that in this Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Around more than 20 verses he describes about what are the qualification of the Hanuman. Such a great personality, he is a pure devotee of the Lord. And his dedication, his service to Lord Ramachandra. And he still is there in this Kimpurusha Varsha. He go and just meet Hanuman. So that's how this Kimpurusha Varsha Hanuman was there. And but obviously a devotee, the pure devotee of the Lord, he always feel separation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Lord went to his abode and he is there here. He is also feeling so sad. But in the second verse, Prabhupada wrote that how he got the solace. And there is a person who is staying there in the Arshtasena. And he is describing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra. And constantly hearing the glories of his master, his beloved master, and everything. And Hanuman is feeling so happy by constantly hearing the glories of Lord Ramachandra. And that's giving him the solace of separation from his Supreme Lord and his master and his life and his soul. So that is the dedication of the Hanuman. And he just stayed in the Kimpurusha Varsha and he is worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord Ramachandra. And he is describing the glories to the others and sometimes in the separation. So he is hearing from Arshtasena. So then he got the solace. And in that way he exhibited his devotional service to the Lord Ramachandra. And there is a description between Garuda, as Prabhupada is mentioned about, because so most of the time people used to describe that how come he is not carried by the Garuda and he doesn't have any Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. I think maybe some minimization of Lord Ram. So Prabhupada is condemning that nobody should discriminate between Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. So from Brahma Samhita also we saw that Rama Adimurti Shukala Niyamena Tashtan. And how one can get the darshan of the Lord? By the mercy of the Lord only. And one should have the transcendental qualities. Then and there only one can see the Lord. So here, Lord himself wants to say to Garuda. So the description comes from again Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So once Lord was there, Krishna was there in Dwaraka, and he wants to say, hey Garuda, you want to feel so proud of your devotional service unto me? Would you like to hear about the glory of the Lord Hanuman? The Hanuman? I will tell. You learn from him. Then your pride of being so just and for your service to me, you will minimize. So he will tell to Garuda, can you go to the Kimpurusha Varsha and meet Hanuman and just come back? And the Garuda will go to the Kimpurusha Varsha to meet Hanuman. And actually the Hanuman is in his own position and is worshipping Lord Ramachandra, Sita and Lakshmana. And he was so immersed in devotional service, he was so immersed in prayers to the Lord Ramachandra, he didn't notice Garuda. First thing. That's okay, he didn't notice. But Garuda himself, I came here on the request of Lord. So he said that Lord sent me. I think something respect should be there, right? The Lord sent me personally. And so he's thinking like that. So Hanuman didn't pay attention itself. Rather, he just used his tail and is just pushed off. That Garuda came back to the Dwaraka Nagar and then again he met Lord Krishna. And he asked, oh Garuda, you have come back? So what was the news? What our Hanuman is doing there? So he said that first thing is actually he didn't respect it and he didn't notice and he didn't listen what I'm saying is. Okay, he was in Yoga Mudra and is meditation and he is worshipping the Lord Ramachandra, Ram, Lakshmana and Sita. Oh. Now second time you go. What you are supposed to say is that you tell Hanuman that Ram, Lakshman, Sita is waiting for you. They are calling you. Come. Now you can go. So Garuda again went back to the Kimpurusha Varsha and he made them Hanuman. So now this time he didn't say anything. And either he gave respect or not, just okay, forget. He said, Hanuman, Ram, Sita and Lakshman is waiting for you. They're calling. And immediately he came to Dwarka Nagar from the Kimpurusha Varsha. So then there Krishna knows that Hanuman is going to come. And it doesn't want to reveal him to this Krishna because he is worshipping Lord Ram. So immediately Krishna took the form of Ram. And he asked Balaram to take the transformation of Lakshman. And he requested Satyabhama to be a Sita. And Satyabhama didn't accept the proposal of being Sita. So then, okay, like Krishna took the choice and he asked Rukmini, Mother Rukmini, you take the form of Sita. So because Hanuman is coming here. So as soon as Hanuman reached the darbar of Dwaraka, so Krishna, Balaram and Mother Rukmini, they transformed into Ram, Lakshmana and Sita. And he offered prayers and he offered obeisances and he offered, oh Lord, how I can able to serve and everything. So he showed to Garuda. So this is the dedication of the Hanuman and his devotion to Lord Ram. So we can also see in our own Gaudiya Siddhanta, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us the exemplary behavior of Murari Gupta, who is none other than Hanuman. And also Vallabh, his another name is Anupam, who is the brother of Rup Sanatan. So even in Chaitanya Charitamrita also we understood that how their dedication is similar in line of Hanuman towards to the service to Lord Ramchandra. Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami also they asked because they're all three brothers and all Sanatan and Rupa Goswami they are worshipping Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, they are the devotees, pure devotees of Lord Krishna, and they used to ask, oh my dear brother Anupam, we are three brothers together. If we can worship Krishna and every day we are chanting the glories of Krishna and we are discussing about Krishna Katha, that would have become very nice. Why don't you take the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, and in his devotion service and dedicate your life? Because by the time actually Anupam, that he is a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra. And but by hearing the words of his brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, Anupam thought of, okay, I will just think about it. He went to home and he will try his level best to take shelter of Krishna by chanting his name and by practicing devotional service. But he couldn't close his eyes. Just think Krishna, then Lord Ramchandra. And he come back to Rupa Sanatan and he says, I can give up my life, but I cannot forget about the worship of Lord Ramachandra. What can I do? So there, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, after hearing, because Rupa Sanatan is dictating these things, and this comes in the Antalila, in the 4th chapter. And Rupa Sanatan, when they are meeting, especially the Sanatan Goswami came to Jagannath Puri to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he meets him, and he stays with Haridas Thakur in his place. So that time, Sanatan Goswami is to dictate Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how is Rupa is doing there in Vrindavan, and how I am. And I came here just to meet you. And meanwhile, and Anupam, we told like this, please, you can take shelter of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Anupam rejected and he said that, I can give my life, but I cannot give the dedication and surrenderness to Lord Ram. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, in the verse 46, he says, glorious is that the devotee who does not give up the shelter of the Lord. And the glorious is that Lord who does not abandon his servant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told to Sanatana Goswami. Because Anupam's dedication and surrenderness to Lord Ramchandra was so glorious, he is unable to just think of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy, the dedication. That's what he said. Glorious is the devotee who does not give up the shelter to whom he has taken. Similarly, in the same line, Murari Gupta also comes. Yeah, even myself, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling to Sanatana Goswami, even myself also tested Murari Gupta. When I met Murari Gupta, I asked him, why you are chanting this Ram and so why don't you take shelter of Krishna and chant this Krishna's name? In the same fashion, Murari Gupta also says he will go to home and he will think of, and overnight he's shedding tears, but he's unable to give up the shelter of Lord Ramchandra. So he said that he came back and again he's told to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my Lord, please forgive me for this. I can give up my life, but I cannot deny Lord Ramchandra and his lotus feet. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed that I'm so happy with your love and devotion to Lord Ram. So that's why we can able to understand the dedication of Hanuman, the service to Lord Ramachandra. Even till date he is there in the Kimpurusha Varsha, he is serving dedicatedly. And whenever there is a need, he will come to that particular place and worship the Supreme Lord. As we saw the example that Krishna called him to Dwaraka, so then he had come there. Because Lord Ramchandra is calling him. But otherwise, he stays there and he is doing his dedicated service and surrenderness. And we saw that Murari Gupta is the incarnation of Hanuman in Gauralila. And Anupam is also a pure devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So they are also showing the complete dedication and surrenderness to Lord Ram. And these are some of the descriptions about how Hanuman is worshipping the Lord Ramchandra in Kimpurusha Varsha. And Prabhupada is mentioning that please don't discriminate between Lord Ram and Krishna, as we saw that. And nobody can able to understand the Supreme Personality of a Godhead's glories and the personality himself. Like even one cannot understand. Just like the person who is studying the ABCD cannot understanding the person who is teaching him. And he is qualified person. But when he come to that level, he can able to understand what my teacher taught me during my schooling. So like that, unless we come to the platform of the transcendence, beyond the modes of the Sattva, Rajas, Tanum, Guna, so we will never able understand the glories of the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. Even we cannot understand the transcendental nature of the devotee, what to think about the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. To understand the transcendental nature of the devotee, one need to be at that caliber, that level. We see the same thing. Lord Krishna descended into this world in the form of Lord Chaitanya as a devotee. And when he is going to Jagannath Puri to take darshan of Lord Jagannath, of course, we saw Krishna and Prabhu very vividly explained about that. And how Sarabham Bhattacharya alone person can able to identify the qualities of this personality. Though he was teaching the philosophy other than the Vaishnavism, but still he said that here is the great personality who is showing that Ashta Sattvika Vikara. But an ordinary person is, that watchman and other people are observing that here is that ordinary person. Just beat him or slap him. We will get to know whether this is pure consciousness or contaminated consciousness. So that is the thought process of a normal human being. But of course, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya immediately appeared over there, and because he's having some influence, he said that please don't do anything about this personality. I will take care about him. And he took his home. So only because he was there at that level, he can able to identify the devotee's qualities and the Ashta Sattvika Vikara. And other people cannot. Then what to think about one can able to understand the supreme glorious transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead? No, one can never understand that. And Prabhupada, does it mean that we will never understanding this? No, we can understand. How? We need to have that eyes to see the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. And he said, Prabhupada, Premanjanacharita bhakti vilochanena. We have to perform the pure devotional service with that love. As Hanuman is worshipping Lord Ram, and Murari Gupta is worshipping his lordships, and he is seeing that Lord Ramchandra, and Anupam is worshipping the Lord in the form of Lord Ramchandra. So we need to have the eyes to see. We have to use the ointment of love, and then we can able to see the Supreme Person of a Godhead, and we can able to and Prabhupada also wrote that, and the Lord is not having this nirguna, these three modes doesn't affect upon this Lord. As Prabhupada is giving that example of the Sita, Mother Sita was not affected with this, because when Ravana came to took Sita, kidnapped Sita, so Ravana came, and as soon as he touched Mother Sita, can anybody touch a thief, or anybody else can able to touch Prime Minister or anybody, the chief personality of our country? Then how can a Ravana can touch Mother Sita? It's as simple as we cannot touch directly the personality. Then how can Ravana touch Sita? And this comes again the same thing in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that who is that devotee name? Vipra. Ramdas Vipra. He is not understanding, he is not digesting this. How come Ravana kidnapped Mother Sita? Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave the solace. During his South Indian visit, he came to Ranganath. He got that description of how Ram Sita and he didn't kidnap. Actually, the description, just now Prabhupada is describing about that. As soon as the Ravana touched, Mother Sita transformed herself. That eternal transcendental form has been disappeared, and that Maya Sita covering with that body, and he touched her. And he actually kidnapped that Maya Sita. He took into his Ashoka Vatika. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled South India, he got this palm leaves, the original description of this description. So he brought this immediately. But actually in those days, there are not multiple copies available. So he told some of the people to write again this description. But he brought the original copy of that palm leaf. The Xerox copy was kept there, but he brought that copy and he wants to show it to the Ramdas Vipra. And as soon as he saw that pamphlet, oh, Ravana didn't kidnap my original Sita, Mother Sita. And only thing is, he kidnapped the Maya Sita. Then he got solaced. So that's how the goddess, Mother Sita and Lord Ram, and they don't have the effects of these modes of material nature. But rather, the qualities of the lordships is that so much, he had appeared just to show us how we can able to live our life in a dedication way. Lord Ramchandra appeared as a normal human being, as a grihastha, and he showed exemplary way of his behavior. Even all Brahmanas, not only this Brahma and Brahmanas used to give the respect, even he used to give a respect to the Chandalas and Shudras, even for the Dobi also. And even everyone, and he used to give that. And this description will be there in Vishnu Chakravarti Tagore's comment, that he says that you are such a qualified person and you are giving so solace for us to how to live our life by not touching these three modes of material nature. So in that way, we can able to understand by practicing the pure devotional service under the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, with that love and ointment, with that vision of our eyes, we can able to see the Supreme Personality of a Godhead as the Supreme with the transcendental qualities, and will never ever underestimate his high qualification of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. Hare Krishna. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.